Building your first AI agent is simpler than you think. We will build this in two parts. First part is going to have the complete implementation of the agent. In the second part, we are going to integrate the agent with UI using WebSockets. Welcome to Prompt and Build. Let's head to Google and search for Groq, or click on the link in the description. Now click on Start Building and sign up with the email. Go to API Keys section and create API key by giving it a name. Make sure to copy and save the API key somewhere because you will not be able to see it again. Let's get into the coding part now. So this file is already set up. So I'll be going through these different sections and explaining you how you will be able to set up your first AI agent to work. The first section is environment setup. So this is what you'll have to use to install all your packages. Then we have the imports and pydantic models. Here we are hard coding the API base URL and bearer token, but in future we will be changing this to fetch this data using some API calls. Then we have the pydantic models. These are required to structure our input and output to the tools. Then we have the to-do API tool definitions. The function that we are creating here with @tool, these will be used by the AI models to trigger our APIs. The fourth section is the LLM setup. So here we are using the chart Groq to set up our LLM. Then the fifth section is LangGraph state definition. So this is the state that LangGraph is going to use to pass between the nodes. Then we have one simple node that we'll be using. This is the agent node. This is responsible for calling the agent whenever user provides some information. And then we have the LangGraph compilation. This is where we are creating nodes in the LangGraph. So in this case, we are just creating one node called agent, and we are setting the entry point as the agent node, and we are adding an edge saying that agent is the only node that we have and it needs to end after completing this node. And we are compiling this graph, and in the final section we are taking the input from the user and we are invoking the graph that we just created, and we are invoking the LLM inside that and giving out the response to the user. So now let's go ahead and run this file, and there we go. We have the welcome to agent log here. As I was explaining before, right, that logger that I created, that is actually creating this. So it is looking pretty cool. Now going back to the AI stuff, it is saying how can I help you today. Let me just do something. So let's try to create one to-do item. Now I'm asking it to create one to-do item to go to office tomorrow, and here you can see that it has created the to-do and it says the to-do is added. Okay, great, we have our first to-do agent running. But whenever I say something like create a to-do for creating my next video, of course it is creating the to-do item, but here you can see that it is saying that session is ended and bye. That is not something that the user expects, right? So the user wants to continue iterating and continue to talk with the AI. So that is what we are going to build now. So to achieve that, I've made some changes to the file that we have created earlier. So you remember that we had the agent node already set up. Now I have added an input handler which handles the input that is being taken from the user. And then we have the check continue. This is the most critical part. Here we are saying that if the message that is coming from the user includes bye, exit, quit or no, then we are exiting and we are returning end. And if it doesn't include any of these words, then we are returning the agent. That means the agent node. Then we'll be having the final response where the user will be seeing the response every time they send something to the AI. Now we will have to make changes to our state graph as well. So earlier we used to have the agent only and it used to go to end directly. Now we have added other things. So it will start with the input handler. See here you can see that this entry point is the input handler. That means when we start this graph, the first thing that will be triggered is the input handler. Then we have the conditional edge. So input handler will be taking the input from the user, and then we will be checking the condition of whether the user wants to quit or not. If the user wants to quit, then this check continue function will be returning end. If not, then it will be returning agent. And when we get the agent, it will be directly going to the agent node again and sending the recent input to the AI model. Now from agent, we will be going to final response. And from final response, we are going back to input handler to check if the user wants to quit again. And now in the main section, we are creating the state, an empty state, and we are just invoking the graph directly. So this graph itself is taking care of taking the input from the user and sending it to AI and verifying whether the user wants to quit or not in the next iteration. Now let's go and try this out. Okay, now let's run this file and see what happens. Here it says that you can enter your command here, or you can say exit or quit to quit. Now let's give something to the AI. Create a new to-do item to complete my agentic AI video. Okay, cool. This says it is the to-do is added, but this time this is not quitting. It is asking for us to see like if you want to do anything else. Now I can create another to-do. Tada, this another to-do got added, and this is still continuing. Now if I want to quit, I can just say exit or quit, and it says session ended by, and done. So we built our first working AI agent. Now it's time to integrate it with the UI using WebSockets. Please subscribe to this channel so that you'll not miss it. If you have any questions or feedback, feel free to comment below.